The prison of the soul begins to unlock when you decipher the sanctuary of the fascia. Your pain doesn't come back because you're weak or because you forgot to stretch. It lingers because there's an invisible network within your body where traumatic memories have taken refuge and crystallized into lasting protection. The fascia, that intelligent web wrapping every muscle and organ, has become the guardian of emotions you were never able to fully process. When your nervous system sensed emotional danger, the fascia tightened and sealed, creating a biological vault that keeps the pain alive, even years after the original trauma. You're trapped in a body that protects something you can't access, constantly battling a bodily intelligence that believes it is saving your life. Every attempt to force relief meets resistance because you don't yet speak the language the fascia understands. There is a specific code, anchored compression, active movement, and breathing that signals safety, capable of convincing this tissue to open from within. The instant release ritual you are about to experience transforms the prison of the soul into a portal of creative energy, because the same fascia that holds you captive also holds the key to your freedom. The secret that changes everything lies in the true nature of the fascia. It is not merely structural tissue, but a vibrational guardian that records and preserves every unprocessed emotion, every unresolved trauma, every inherited memory carried by your lineage. This intelligent sensory network has its own memory, creating biological vaults where emotional experiences remain sealed in suspended time, waiting for a safe moment to be released. When your nervous system perceives a threat, whether physical, emotional, or ancestral, the fascia responds by contracting and shielding, turning into a protective prison that keeps the pain alive long after the original event. You carry invisible prisons where parts of your soul remain trapped, waiting for the right language to be set free. What you are about to discover is the exact code that dissolves this fascial armor, anchored compression that communicates stability to the deep tissue, active movement that reactivates the glide between layers fused by protection, and modulated breathing that directly signals safety to your cellular memory. This instant release ritual does not force an opening. It speaks with the intelligence of the fascia, gently convincing it that it is now safe to release the ancestral protection and transform it into available creative energy. You will experience the difference between trying to break the prison from the outside and realizing it has always held the key to your liberation on the inside. Hermetic traditions intuitively understood what fascial neuroscience confirms today. The body functions as a living temple where every experience leaves measurable imprints on the architecture of its tissues. Robert Schleip revolutionized scientific understanding by demonstrating that fascia contains more nerve endings than the skin itself, functioning as an autonomous sensory organ capable of processing emotional information and storing tissue memory. Stephen Porges, through the polyvagal theory, unveiled the mechanism behind this ancient wisdom. Neuroception, the unconscious detection of safety or threat, determines whether the fascia expands in receptivity or contracts into protection mode. When the nervous system perceives the environment as dangerous, myofibroblasts activate instantly, creating a baseline tension that persists regardless of whether the original trauma has been consciously resolved. The discovery that validates Hermetic principles is that this same fascial intelligence responds to specific release codes. Anchored compression communicates stability to the deep receptors. Active movement confirms autonomy to the proprioceptors, and vagal modulation through breathing signals safety directly to the brainstem. This triad creates a neural signature that convinces the fascia it can dissolve its protective state without risk, confirming through contemporary science that matter and consciousness are two sides of the same transformable reality. Just as the ancient masters once knew and fascial neuroscience now proves with molecular precision. The first step to unlocking the fascial prison is to establish an autonomic state that communicates complete safety to the deep tissue. Without this, any attempt at release will encounter defensive resistance. Begin by lying face down or positioning yourself on a firm surface that fully supports your body weight, removing any need for muscular contraction to maintain balance. Place your right palm over your solar plexus and your left hand over your lower abdomen, creating a conscious bridge between the neurological centers that govern protective responses. Initiate autonomic modulation with precise breathing cycles. Inhale slowly while counting to 4. Hold your breath for 2 seconds and exhale gently while counting to 8, allowing the air to fully leave your lungs before beginning the next cycle. Complete 4 full breaths in this pattern, noticing how each extended exhalation signals to the vagus nerve that the internal environment has shifted from alertness to receptivity. On the 4th exhale, if it feels natural, add a soft vocal vibration, a deep hum resonating in your chest and sternum, enhancing vagal modulation through stimulation of the trigeminal nerve. Now locate the anchoring point in the hip flexor chain, approximately 5 centimeters above the inguinal crease, where the rectus femoris muscle originates at the anterior iliac spine. Place a firm ball, about the size of a lacrosse ball, on this point, avoiding prominent bones or joints. The pressure should register between 4 and 6 on a scale of 10, strong enough to be clearly felt, but not so intense that it triggers a defensive contraction. Remain still for 30 to 45 seconds, allowing the tissue to adapt to the compression without fighting the sensation, while maintaining steady compression on the anchoring point. Begin active movements with an extremely limited range. The goal is to create controlled shearing between fascial layers that have become stuck together, not to mobilize the hip joint. Gently bend the knee about 10 to 15 degrees and return to the starting position, performing the motion in perfect sync with 8-second exhalations. Let your breath guide the rhythm. Inhale while in the neutral position. Begin the movement during the exhale and complete the return by the end of the breath out. Perform 8 to 10 repetitions this way, noticing how each micro movement, combined with the extended exhale, creates a wave of softening that spreads through the fascial tissue. Next, move on to subtle thigh rotations. Keeping the ball pressed in place, perform micro internal and external rotations of the femur, exploring only the first 5 to 10 degrees in each direction. The movement should be so subtle that an outside observer would barely notice it. As you rotate, pause wherever the tissue seems to ask for stillness. You'll feel spots where the fascial density is greater, as if your body is requesting focused attention at a specific angle. Stay at these points for 5 to 10 seconds, exhaling slowly and allowing the natural softening that signals deep layer release. Here, precision matters more than range. Millimeter scale movements done with full awareness bring more fascial transformation than broad mobilizations done automatically. Complete this phase with 5 deep breaths, continuing the compression and observing sensations such as warmth, pulsing or tingling signs that the interstitial flow has been activated. Still anchored by the compression, begin minimal pelvic movements that integrate fascial release with your overall postural axis. Perform micro-pelvic tilts, slight anterior and posterior shifts of just 2 to 3 degrees, and sense how the movement travels through the newly released hip flexor chain, reaching the lower abdomen and solar plexus. Each tilt should be accompanied by a full exhalation. observing how pelvic reorganization dissolves tension in cascading layers throughout the entire core. After 6 to 8 repetitions, gently remove the ball and place your hands crossed, one over the solar plexus, the other over the lower abdomen. This hand position creates a neural bridge between the autonomic centers that govern fascial responses. Take 3 deep exhalations with a soft vocal vibration, a low hum resonating through your chest, allowing vagal modulation to complete the autonomic signature of safety. Remain in quiet receptivity for 60 to 90 seconds, watching for somatic signs of release, spontaneous sighs that signal nervous system discharge, reflexive swallows that reveal parasympathetic activation, yawns that confirm neurological reorganization, local warmth indicating vasodilation, waves of tingling that show reactivation of interstitial flow, or subtle tremors that express the release of stored energy. Finish by rising slowly and standing for 30 seconds, noticing any changes in weight distribution, breathing capacity, a sense of lightness in the pelvis, and an inner quiet that mark the unlocking of the fascial prison. Speak out loud, softly, at least one noticeable change. This verbal acknowledgement helps consolidate the transformation neurologically. Serafina had been carrying 7 years of pain in her right hip, radiating into her lower back and compressing her breath, a tension that appeared at the exact moment she was forced to choose between a promising career and caring for her ailing mother. Massages, stretching, Pilates, and even physical therapy brought temporary relief, but the stiffness always returned with renewed intensity, as if something deep within her resisted every attempt at change. When she discovered the ritual, her first reaction was skepticism. How could such subtle movements reach into layers of pain that intense techniques had failed to touch? On her very first try, with anchored compression placed precisely on the hip flexor chain, something extraordinary happened. Her body recognized, for the first time, a language that did not feel threatening. As she moved gently in sync with her extended exhalations, she literally felt the moment when fascial layers began to glide after years of protective adhesion. But the true turning point came during the integration phase. A wave of heat rose from her pelvis to her chest, followed by 3 involuntary sighs and a visceral sense that something old had finally been released for good. As she stood up, she noticed not only the absence of her familiar tension, but also the presence of a creative energy she hadn't felt since before the original trauma. Serafina realized that the prison of the soul was never a punishment. It had always been protection, waiting for the right code to transform into a portal of renewal. The most common resistance comes from a deeply rooted belief that intensity equals effectiveness. How can something so subtle dissolve pain I've carried for years? But neurological truth reveals the opposite. Fascia responds to codes of safety, not brute force. When you apply excessive pressure, fascial mechanoreceptors interpret that intensity as a threat and activate even stronger defenses, which is why deep massages often provide brief relief followed by increased tension. Anchored compression works because it communicates stability to the deep receptors without triggering protective alarms. It creates the precise neurological environment for fascia to recognize safety and release its guarding patterns voluntarily. True fascial healing happens when the body understands that it can let go of the protection it no longer needs, and this only occurs through codes that whisper safety, never through force that wages war on the very tissue you're trying to set free. There is a truth known only to bodies that have been set free. When the prison of the soul begins to open, it reveals that it was never a prison, it was a sanctuary, waiting for the right moment to become a portal. The fascia that once contracted in ancestral protection held within it not only the memory of trauma, but also the key to its release. Every tense fiber you once saw as limitation was, in fact, preserving vital energy for the day you would learn the right language to awaken it. Plato taught that the embodied soul must learn that the body is not a prison, but the temple where transformation takes place. And what you experience today proves that fascial restriction mirrors the very way your soul learned to protect itself through contraction. The ritual that turned density into flow, stiffness into movement, silence into vibration, did not manipulate your body. It spoke with the intelligence that has always lived within every layer of your being. The anchored compression was a handshake between your awareness and the cellular wisdom that had been waiting for years to be recognized. The active movement was the dance that taught forgotten fascial layers how to glide in harmony again. The modulated breath was the song that calmed your nervous system and convinced it that it was safe to lay down its protective armor. You now inhabit a body that has returned to being a temple, a place where matter and spirit move in the same rhythm, where pain transforms into presence, and where what once felt like the prison of the soul reveals itself as the portal it was always meant to be. If this content resonated with you, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. That helps us expand this field of fascial transformation even further. I'd love to know how you feel the release of the armor in your body. Share in the comments. I unlock the prison of the soul and free the sanctuary of my fascia. This affirmation seals your presence on the path of somatic healing. Share this video with someone you know who needs to discover that persistent pain is not a destiny. It's a message waiting to be decoded. And don't stop here. Click on the screen and dive into another powerful video from the channel. With every code you activate, you move closer to the reality you were born to manifest. Remember, when the prison of the soul begins to open, it reveals that it always held the key to your liberation.